Hi, I'm Coach Stephen Arnold, and in today's lecture we're talking about vegan nutrition. So it's something that's becoming more and more popular, and as a coach I'm working with more and more vegans, and there's just some stuff that we need to know and to clear up, so let's get straight into it. So where vegan nutrition differs in the most part from a traditional carnivore diet is protein. So the biggest contributor towards protein levels in a normal or in a carnivore diet is that we get these from animal proteins, and obviously when we're vegans we don't have that option, so we have to get our protein from other sources. But the problem is with non-animal proteins, we're working with incomplete protein chains. Animal proteins are all complete. So with protein chains, there's 22 amino acids, and 9 of those are deemed as essential. And we need to hit these 9 essential amino acids to make complete protein chains. And unless we make a complete protein chain, we're not going to trigger protein synthesis, muscle protein synthesis. So it's going to be harder for us to get muscle growth. And this is where most vegans fall short. So they don't have this information and they just look at daily totals. And it's even hard for them to hit those daily totals because most food options aren't high naturally in proteins. So what we need to do with a vegan diet to make sure that we are getting complete protein chains with our amino acids is combined protein sources in each meal. So things like hummus and pita, they make a complete protein chain. Things like nuts and spinach will make a complete protein chain. These sources on their own they do have a variety of these amino acids, but they're not complete chains, they're incomplete chains. We make them complete by combining them together. So that's the first thing that we need to make sure we're doing when we're designing a vegan diet, or when you live into a vegan diet. So with a carnivore diet, for me, I might just have like eggs and some veggies, or I might have some chicken and sweet potato. But with a vegan diet, you definitely have to have 2 protein sources to make a complete chain. And the next one, like we just mentioned briefly, was getting adequate levels in. A lot of food selections in a vegan diet are actually low in proteins. And then what we find is, this makes it even more difficult, foods that do contain protein, in a carnivore diet, like chicken is pretty much nearly all protein. But with a vegan diet, foods that contain proteins are also high in carbs and high in fats, making our total macros, making our macro split very hard to achieve. So this makes it hard for us to achieve, or makes it harder for us to achieve body composition goals. So we put carbohydrates in, but they got proteins. We try to put proteins in, they got carbohydrates. End up with really, really high carb levels, really, really high fat levels, and really, really low protein levels. So we have to make sure that we're being really, really clever with our prescription, and we're choosing the right, or we're choosing sensible carbohydrate sources and good fat sources to make this diet right. Otherwise you're just going to end up with sky high carbohydrate levels, and this is quite often what we see. I'll see vegans coming into me and they'll be hitting like 50 grams of protein per day, and just so you're a rough idea, we're looking for about 1.8 to 2.2 grams per kilo of body weight per day. So if a 90 guy or 100 kilo guy comes in, he's only eating 50 grams of protein per day, then he's definitely not hitting his protein levels right. So we need to make sure that the sources we use are managed well, and it becomes a little bit difficult. And also timing as well. We can't separate the timing out. So it's hard for us to achieve really world-class composition goals because we can't separate these foods out. Like with a carnivore diet, I'll make sure that we have protein and carbohydrates timed around training with minimal amounts of fats, because fats slow down the digestion rate of the carbohydrates. So it's hard to separate them out. So achieving world-class results does become a little bit harder. And also with micronutrients, because we are a little bit more limited with a vegan diet, people tend to eat the same sources of food all the time because they make it fit, they make this pattern fit, they make their calories and their macros fit, and then they're like, wow, that's so much work, I'm just going to leave it the same. So we actually become a little bit restricted with our variety of micronutrients that they hit, and that obviously contributes towards another whole heap of problems as well, because we always want variety in our diet, making sure that we're hitting a wide range of micronutrients. So in summary, a vegan diet can certainly be, and is most often, inadequate or inferior compared to a traditional carnivore diet. But that's not to say that it is definitely, because it can be made equally. It can be equal to a carnivore diet with the right application. It just takes more time and more work. So for me, when I'm working with a vegan client, it takes me probably 3 times as long to design a really, really world-class nutrition program for the client, whereas compared to a traditional carnivore diet, it takes me about 3 times longer. But it can certainly be done, and it doesn't need to be an inadequate diet. But what we do find is, because it is a little bit harder, we may be a little bit off with these. We might not get these macros exactly spot on. But what I say to people is, it doesn't, unless you're prepping for a bodybuilding show or an event, you don't need to be 100% of everything. You can be slightly over and under on the targeted amounts. It doesn't have to be perfect. But a vegan diet is just a bit harder. It doesn't need to be inferior or inadequate. We can't say that if you're a vegan, you're never going to achieve a certain level of success or a certain level of body composition, because it's just not true. It just takes harder work, more work for the person designing the diet to get the right result. It can be done, it just takes harder work. So for the average vegan, yeah, it is harder for them, but for somebody that's coming in and they're working with a coach, there's absolutely no way, there's no reason for you to be inadequate or thinking that it's harder. It just takes more work. That's all it is. It can be made exactly the same with the right application, just a little bit more work. So I hope that's helped you out a little bit today. And if you are a vegan, just know that it can be done. It's just a little bit harder, but you can make the perfect meal plan, hitting every single variable that needs to be considered. Just takes a little bit more application. So happy dieting, good luck to you all, and thanks for watching.